Today's episode is all about getting in front of the game, being proactive and not reactive in our marketing, and also sort of getting off Instagram, getting away from the digital focus and really thinking about where your next project is actually located. I feel like we're always waiting for referrals, waiting for a website inquiry, thinking your DMs are going to blow up just because you have spent so much time probably absorbing Instagram. And if we're honest, consuming Instagram and being on Instagram rather than understanding exactly how to call someone in to your Instagram. So today is not actually about our digital strategy or the social media side of things. It's all about local area marketing. And inside of my container studio CEO and also with private coaching, designers are always telling me that they are unsure where the next client's coming from. Like client acquisition is a huge topic that we cover. And many of these ideas that I want to share with you today, you might not have previously thought of or had the confidence to enact the plan or actually start doing some of this stuff. And I think we can sit in our studios for a long time, myself included. I'm always in this room, but where I've seen real traction are the times where I've actually scheduled to do my showroom visits, go around locally, pitch what I do. I'm this afternoon sending out a bunch of emails to businesses in the Macedon Ranges that could benefit from my AI consultancy. A lot of the workshops for small businesses to medium to large businesses that I run more through sort of corporate, they're sometimes not even interior design related. And so I'm going to pitch for a little bit more of that work so that I can have that income stream coming in so that I can continue to play and enjoy Studio CEO. And based on the conversations that I have with designers, I know that this is an area that some of you don't feel confident to go out and do that local area marketing properly. I know people will do a flyer drop once and then be like, well, that didn't have any return on investment. But when we look at marketing, we're often looking for about 11 touch points before we have buyer awareness and they really know your name and your name comes up in the right rooms, for the electrician to actually say, yes, I know a designer named Sarah who lives locally. I'm going to give you her number. You need to really have met and worked with that person. So I'm going to give you hopefully some ideas that you can run with and use to get excited about this, because local area marketing has a big return on investment. Actually, you put in the time, you put in the energy. It is a conversion marketing strategy. It will convert to something. And it feels so much more earned than that passive bed rotting, going through, wasting hours on Instagram, scrolling, comparing, overthinking captions. Instead of doing all of that, just taking 4 strategic hours a week to connect locally just feels so much better. So if you need clients in the next 90 days, we can't afford to be passive. Today, I'm talking about getting ahead of the game and focusing on local area marketing that actually converts. Firstly, this one is one I have done myself and I have coached others to do quite a few times, and that is have an in-store residency as an in-store designer. So working with a local tile company, carpet or flooring company, think about where your potential homeowner really struggles to make decisions. So things where having a professional eye understand undertones would be a benefit. Being in a showroom like a stone supplier, lighting showroom, cabinet maker, flooring store, as I say, anywhere that you'd be welcome. So this starts with a connection with the store itself and the brand itself. So for me, I'll give you just an example. Luscombe Tiles here locally have a beautiful range of tiles, and I work with the team down there very closely. Little shout out to them on the podcast, but they've always looked after me and I've taken so many clients in there and we've chosen things. If I wanted to do a local area marketing initiative, I would go down and chat to the team down there and say, hey, I'd love to schedule a residency here for once every 8 to 12 weeks. I'd like it to be locked in the calendar for all of 2026. And I'd like to both promote it and really see if we can make it something that's regular and reoccurring, and then really market it. Like we have a local interior designer in store on the first Saturday of March or whatnot, and actually have that date set. You've both got it in your calendars. You're going to be there from 10 till 2. And you're going to, as people are getting closer to that date and they're choosing their bathroom tiles or whatnot, the tile store can say, hey, we have a local designer down here. She's going to be doing free consultation. She's going to be talking you through project choices. She's here for, you can either do 20-minute booked consult slots so people can actually book in the calendar and bring their plans and photos, and you just do a 20-minute slot is a discovery call. It's just in person. So you're building rapport and you want to give focused, confident guidance, but not the answers, right? So you would offer the paid in-home consult as your follow-up. So you would gather their email addresses, you would meet them in store, you could have an acrylic frame set up right there with a QR code where they could book in the consult. It's critical that you collect their email and phone numbers before the consult and that you do the work to follow up within 48 hours and that you take good notes and say, like, I know we were looking at a greige tile on Saturday, but since doing that, I really heard you say X, Y, and Z, or I really heard in your confusion that maybe you're doing this for resale and you really want to be the expert here because you absolutely are. But this strategy really works because you're borrowing foot traffic, you're borrowing audience and incredibly targeted audience. They're already in a tile shop or they're already shopping for flooring. If you wanted to, you could do this once a month and do it in the different things that we spoke about, whether it's showrooms. This works really well if you are one of the designers, and hello to all of you because I have spoken to so many girls in this situation who operate like in regional areas, or we've had to come up with very different approaches because they maybe don't have access to some of the things that the city designers have. So this is great. Get down to your local paint right or whatever and ask them if you can be in there helping people choose the nursery paint color on that Saturday, and it floods all that traffic into that day. It becomes busy in store. You collect a lot of leads, warm, hot leads, people who actually have a project on the go, and you position yourself as the expert. You remove hesitation. They maybe weren't going to Google interior designer, but once they see how helpful having one on the project can be, they're absolutely going to be interested in that. The other thing that you do there is you build your own kind of mojo. If you're listening to Designing Success and you're a newer designer, maybe you're under a year of experience, this is going to give you experience. You're going to have a bit like speed dating, lots of different conversations, lots of different problems, and it makes you feel really confident because you've done it and you walk away that day and you're like, oh, I've got some leads, some conversations to have, and I felt really good about what I brought to the table and how I showed up for my brand. It converts much better than just hoping a reel reaches your suburb, for example. Like these people live around you, they want to support local, and you can get to, flex your knowledge and show off and also learn stuff. Like I learned from all of my suppliers. So if I did this with Luscombe tiles, I'd be like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that it was this, that, or the other. Like I'd be learning things too. If you have any success with any of these strategies, please drop into my DMs over at oleander_and_fidge on Instagram. I would be thrilled to hear that you have partnered up with a local supplier and that you're going to do something like this because I know this strategy works. Over to number 2, real estate floor plan review sessions. We want to offer local agents something that, they're all about what's in it for them, the real estate agents. So saying to them that you'll give them a free review, one upcoming listing floor plan and suggest 3 changes that increases the perceived value. So they might have a vendor that's quite tricky, that they're struggling to get over the line. You can say to them like, yep, you can cash in this coupon. Let me know, send me the floor plan. I'll film it. So I'll actually talk them through the design just quickly. Like you could do this, do that. They could cross promote that. They could share that on their socials if they want the filming of that. They could talk about it as a service that they offer their client. You can do lots of things. Like I think there's a lot of scope to value add to the real estate agent relationship. So could you do a quarterly vendor value workshop? So 30-minute talk about layout mistakes that devalue your home, or and invite all the upcoming people who are possibly going to list their house. And so you're in front of motivated sellers. The reason that whilst it adds value to the real estate agent, they love that it's free, for example, they can gather the right people to come along to that 30-minute talk. But the benefit for you is you're getting in quite early so that when those people sell their home and buy another one, they're like, I know the exact designer who I want to engage to look at what's possible with our new house, because most people buy and think about redoing the bathroom, or there's something about that house that they want to invest in. So it's more of a long-term strategy, but it helps build those local relationships, and it's 30 minutes of your time. Have it in a local cafe if you want, or see if there's a venue that you could have it where people can stick around and chat. Even at the real estate agent rooms themselves, I'm not sure how motivated I would be as a potential homeowner to go down there after hours or on the weekend or whatever, but it's worth just nutting these things out. These are just ideas. You get to grab them and run with them. I actually just think there's so much untapped opportunity in keeping connected with your local agents. I have an agent here in the Macedon Ranges, Siobhan, that calls me every 6 months, and I don't do property styling. I don't do any consultations for her, but we keep connected in case there's any opportunities that I come across. Like if I've gone to an in-home consult and someone's looking to do some changes before selling, I might drop her name or say, yep, look, when you're ready, let me know. I know an agent locally who's really great, and vice versa. She knows I don't do the staging and styling side of things, and that I would always refer that work out to someone who's qualified in that area. But she knows what I do. So sometimes when it comes up and she's going through and doing and meeting the homeowner, she will say, I do know someone locally that will be able to help you when you get into the new property, make some choices that reflect how you want to live. Quick pause here because I want to share something important. For the last 2 years, I've been running a 12-week business overhaul for designers who are ready to scale properly and tidy up how their studios actually operate. In fact, the year before, so 2024, it was called the Framework Collective, and then it turned into the Framework Express. And it's never really had a name that I have enjoyed. And if I'm honest, the name that it's been hasn't properly articulated the transformation or what the course is about at all. It was just something I came up with. So I went out to my audience, I emailed all the designers who've been through it, I emailed my greater audience, and then I spoke to some of the designers and the women who helped me build and refine this program over the last 2 years. And I shared the name that I'd been toying with for a while, something I've been kicking around, thinking, I do really like it. Every single one of them was like, lock it in. That's exactly it. The old name does not fit anymore, and the new one just does. Because inside this container, it isn't actually just about express, fast, framework. It's about leadership and intention. And so we've named her Studio CEO because that's exactly what we do. We take design studios and we appoint you into the CEO role that you technically already held as the founder. But we teach how to fully step into that and to understand, to be more risk-taking, to have more control over the P&Ls, to price your offers, your local strategy, your digital strategy, own those strategies, learn your systems, design your SOPs, and make the decisions at a leadership level. So that is the transition. And we cap it at 5 business owners inside of Studio CEO. I'm currently waitlisting and holding alignment calls for the next cohort. That cohort kicks off on Monday, the 23rd of March. I have 1 person in it already. I'm looking for 4 more. The current group that's running is exceptional. I'm loving them, and I'm genuinely excited to see who'll step into the room next. If that sounds like a room you want to be in, the link is in the show notes. Come and tell me what you think of Studio CEO because I, for one, am really excited. Okay, back to the episode. Idea number 3, an architect builder roundtable breakfast. That sounds like the nights around the round table. It sounds so formal, but I think inside of our local area, there are draftspeople, there are architects, builders, electricians, trades. There are all sorts of people who can refer a designer, but I like to sort of flip it a little bit around what we can do for them as well. So maybe strategically choosing 6 to 8 architects, builders, planners, having an 8 a.m. start before work and saying, look, it won't take more than an hour of your time. We will talk about common things that we want to discuss, industry adjacent, like what's slowing projects down right now, where are budgets blowing out, what are clients underestimating. It's not like B&I, it's not like a cult. It would literally, I would just go out and say, I've chosen you guys because you really align. I think that we'd be really aligned clientele-wise. This is not a networking thing to pitch, to sell, no hard sells. It's just a conversation that can increase our knowledge about what's happening and increase our connection. You're talking to your equals. You're looking at possibilities for collaboration. It sort of builds long-term project flow as well. In a couple of years, you might be like, okay, well, on this project, we want an interior designer and an architect and a town planner and all that sort of stuff. So, discussions that you'd have here would be around how to use public data strategically. How do we get in front of council permits? They're public. Is there any possibility of the projects coming up? Your DA submissions are public. Extensions and renovations are listed online. So it would be sharing the knowledge about, what projects have you got in the pipeline? What kind of inquiry have you seen lately? Architects and builders and designers all repeatedly coming together once a month or once a corner even is a good thing. It really strengthens relationships in that local area because all of those builds should have all of your name across it. And you can add more and more professionals to that. Like I said, 6 to 8, because I don't want you to become event planners or, run these corporate things. But there's so much opportunity to see what's happening in your local area and like recognize patterns, get ahead of the game, be like, oh my gosh, there's so much happening in this estate effective from this time, and get ahead of it and work together. It's market intelligence. It's not competitive. And running it doesn't have to be scary. You don't have to get up with a presentation. You can sit at a table of 8 at a cafe and just say, I'm so glad we could get together because we all bring different things to projects, and we could all work together way more often in this local area if we just understand how best to bring each other into the projects. Okay, and it kind of leads in well to my next strategy, which I call the upstream strategy, which is about being ahead and being upstream. So who meets the homeowners first? Think about the timeline of what happened before you get an inquiry on your website that someone's looking for an interior designer. They've worked with a mortgage broker, buyer's agents, conveyancers, building inspectors, maybe town planners, private certifiers, drafts people, the people, home loan lenders, builders, lodging permits. These people have already built trust with that homeowner. They've already understood budgets, they're shaping decisions, they're getting stuck in already. And then often the buyer will say, oh, do you know a designer? Or like, we're thinking about this, but not for ages. But if you can get early intervention or get ahead of that game and look at or explain properly to people like conveyancers how you do layout decision support, for example, or how you have a service that helps people look at the feasibility of their investment. Or, if you were to say, I help clients avoid expensive layout mistakes before the contracts are signed, it's reframing that you are the last stop on the train line. Like, you actually should be up the other end, upstream. So you're not asking for referrals necessary, but you add protection to the process and you make the conveyancer look more thorough, or you make the broker look more connected. It's just helpful for everyone. But the only thing that you really have to do is go out and meet some of these people and explain why it's better to have you earlier in the project, and be like, look, you don't need to hard sell me or refer me, but if an opportunity ever comes up, please know that I would love to get involved at this time of the project because we have much better outcomes. I think once people understand the expectation and the benefit of you being involved, then they're much more likely to bring your name up. Okay, and a bonus one, ask a designer community night. Pitch to your local council or library, neighborhood house, renovating in 2026, what's worth spending, what's not, 2026 trend, a free ticketed event, a 45-minute talk or a 15-minute Q&A, a free checklist that you give out, do a QR code to a discounted paid in-home consult. A lot of the attendees will be actively renovating or looking for that advice. I've done a few of these. I've been on a panel a little while ago now, a couple of years ago, with Andrew Winter and some others at Bunnings around Australia, where we looked at renovation questions, return on investment, property, buying and selling. We were making mood boards. We were talking about all sorts of things. The Q&As were wild. They were from everything from facade choices down to how to lift a terracotta tile from a kitchen floor that had been tiled on top of flooring on top of flooring. You never know what's going to come up. The point is, people are going to have their time for Q&As and they're going to be able to ask an expert for free. So they're going to be really, it's quite similar to the first one that I said, which is, your in-store residency, but you own this a lot more as your brand because you're in a library or at the council or somewhere, and they will promote it for you. So this will be a ticketed event that people can come along for. So it helps you with that marketing campaign as well and knowing exactly what to do. It gives you instant authority, and you don't have to rely on the algorithm to get in front of people. People in the local area may have seen the flyers. They may they may go down to borrow a book at the local library and see that you're going to be there in a few weeks and sign up. So becoming the local expert. This is part of a bonus strategy, so I might as well give you a secondary bonus one as well. Another thing around when I hear the word local expert, have you reached out to a journalist for your local paper and introduce yourself and say, hey, my name's Rhiannon. I live in the Macedon Ranges. I would be available for comment on anything interiors related anytime. Just let me know. I know we often do articles where you need an image. I've got 800 mood boards ready to go. You need high res photography. I have all of that. And I have a lot of opinions around what's working in interior space. So I'm open for comment all of the time. Introducing myself in that way is going to help the journalists, because then they're like, yes, okay, we've got this thing we want to talk about, how open plan spaces since COVID, we've seen the floor plans have completely changed and everything's tight and closed back in again. Do you have a comment for me? Bang, I can get it to you this afternoon. And there you go. I've got some brand awareness. I'm being printed in the local paper. Okay, so let's just tie that up as local expert. Yeah, I want you to think about, is there a local, an opportunity for you to show up locally and show people what you can do? So how are we going to put this or implement this week? I'm thinking, I mentioned 4 hours at the top of the episode because I think that's realistically an amount of time that people are wasting on Instagram these days. And imagine what you could do if you put those 4 hours a week aside and you introduced yourself to the local journalist. You identified, 4 brokers, 3 conveyances, 3 active builders via permits that you found online, and invited 2 for coffee, or did a simple PDF that they could send to clients, or even just sent an email and said, I'd love to chat about what you're seeing with your clientele at the moment. 2026 has started strong for my brand. I'd love to hear about how, if there's any collaboration opportunities where I can help send some people your way. The return on investment for that 4 hours, rather than being on Instagram, but actually thinking strategically about contacting some showrooms, setting up a residency, doing all of that stuff, that's only 4 hours work and it's done. You don't need to overthink it. You don't need all this collateral or a landing page. You don't need any of it. You just need to understand that focusing on bringing potential clients to you with something tangible is a way better return on investment than just scrolling and posting things. Because we don't want to be seen to be begging for work or spammy in DMs. We're not selling vacuum cleaners door to door. We don't have to feel gross about talking about what we're doing, because you're actually offering a service and an expertise that saves people. It prevents costly mistakes. It saves them money. You're advocating for them on the project. You're going to get real outcomes and transformations that are way better than if you're not there. And we want to make sure that you're lifting up and moving around like a professional and showing up like that, because that's where we're going to see real traction. And I promise you, if you were doing 4 hours a week for the next 12 weeks, conversion size, the maths of it, something will convert, whether that's an in-home consult, whether you just have stronger connections in your community. And that solves our feast and famine cash flow issue that I feel that so many designers come to me with as well. Because if you were to create a single offer that's locally redeemable only, and you go out and you put it everywhere and people can just do a QR code and book that in-home consult at that special rate because it's only for people in this postcode or whatnot, you're going to convert some of those. I think we just need to breathe some more passion, more energy. That song from Instagram. But I think a lot of what's happening at the start of this year is we're just not feeling energized about our business and excited. And I feel like local area marketing is a great place to rip that Band-Aid and get excited again, because once you start doing some of this stuff, you're probably out of your comfort zone. You're feeling like you've actually taken steps towards getting that next client, towards meeting people in the paint shop and the tile shop. And it energizes you just through osmosis, because the internet is a miserable place at times. I think the last 3 weeks, actually, I've referenced how horrific it is online. My Friday night TikTok scrolling time is in the bin at the moment, because I just don't want to see what my algorithm wants to show me. I'm not going to get political on here, but I don't think I don't think that's palatable for me. I don't think that's a positive use of my time. I think, it has been better for me to lean into watching webinars and educating myself on certain things that improve my business going forward, rather than just rotting in that space of everything that's happening that I can't control. So feel free to protect your peace. You can do that, obviously. Probably a different topic for a different podcast episode. That's it from me this week. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget, Studio CEO is now taking the next cohort. They kick off on the 23rd of March. There are 4 spaces left. I don't know who will fill them. I can't wait to find out. I hope if it's you, we get to work together for 3 months this year, and I will see you here next week for Designing Success. Bye for now.